She is not praying. She is not fasting. She is not near a temple or a sacred space. She is a slave woman sitting by a spring in the wilderness of Shur. She is running from the household of Abraham, from a situation she did not choose and cannot change. She has no covenant standing, no religious credentials, no name in any official record of God's people. By every measure that mattered in the ancient world, she is invisible. And it is into that exact location, a desert spring where nobody would look, that an angel of the Lord appears. Not to Abraham, not to Sarah. To the woman nobody was watching, and the angel does not come to correct her theology or assess her spiritual condition. It comes because she is alone and desperate, and it says, "I have heard your affliction." That is Genesis chapter 16, the first recorded angelic appearance in all of Scripture, and the pattern it establishes will run unbroken. From this desert spring, through the winepress of Ophrah, through the Garden of Gethsemane, without a single exception across 66 books. By the end of this, you will have walked through every major angelic appearance in the Bible, and you will understand the single pattern God has never broken across any of them. And the appearance that reveals that pattern most clearly is not the burning bush, not the announcement to Mary, not Elijah's meal in the wilderness. It is the appearance to a man hiding in a winepress, doing the most frightened, ordinary thing imaginable. That one will change how you read every unexplained moment in your own life. 7 appearances, 1 pattern. And the pattern was never about the angels. The word angel in Hebrew is malach, in Greek agalos. Both mean the same thing, messenger. Not a species of supernatural being, but a function. Sent by someone with authority, carrying a word to a specific person at a specific moment for a specific purpose. The question Scripture is never asking is what angels look like. The question Scripture is always asking is who sent them, to whom, and why now. When you lay every major angelic appearance side by side and ask those 3 questions, the same answer emerges every time, not what most people expect. By the time we reach the 7th appearance, you will know exactly what that answer is. First, the wilderness of Shur, Genesis 16, 7-13. Hagar. Her name in Hebrew means flight. She is Egyptian, a slave, pregnant by a situation she did not initiate. She is running south toward Egypt because the alternative is unbearable. Genesis 16:7 says, "The angel of the Lord found her." That verb is critical. The Hebrew is matzah, to encounter, to come upon, to find something that was being searched for. The angel was not stationed by the spring by chance. It went looking for her. The message is precise and practical. You are pregnant, you will have a son, name him Ishmael. God hears, because the Lord has heard your affliction. The Hebrew word for affliction is oni, misery, poverty of spirit, depression-level despair. God did not send an angel in response to Hagar's prayer. She was not praying. God sent an angel in response to suffering heard before it was voiced. What most people miss is Hagar's response. She does not describe the angel. She gives God a name. Genesis 16:13. She called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, "You are the God who sees me." El Roi, the God of sight. The first human name for God in all of Scripture was given by a runaway slave in a desert, not by Abraham, not by a patriarch or priest, by a woman nobody was watching who discovered she had never been out of God's sight. If there is a season you are running from right now, something you cannot change and cannot endure, this appearance was placed first for a reason. The angel did not come because Hagar had earned it. It came because God had the right character. That is the first appearance. But the second reveals something disorienting about the conditions under which angels arrive. Second, the plains of Mamre, Genesis 18:1-2. 3 figures appear to Abraham while he is sitting at the door of his tent in the heat of the day. The text does not open with fire or light. It says 3 men were standing before him. The Hebrew is anashim, ordinary human form. Abraham sees them, runs to meet them, and immediately begins preparations for hospitality. He does not know yet who they are. One of the 3 speaks the promise that changes human history. At this time next year, Sarah will have a son. Hebrews 13:2 comments on this class of appearance. Do not neglect hospitality to strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels without knowing it. Without knowing it. The assignment completes before the identity is confirmed. What most people miss is the posture Abraham was in when it happened. He was sitting, not praying, not seeking, resting in the heat of the afternoon, doing nothing sacred, and 3 figures were standing there when he looked up. The most important promise ever made to Abraham did not arrive in a night of intercession. It arrived at noon while he rested, through 3 visitors who looked exactly like ordinary men. If you have been waiting for a dramatic spiritual signal before you believe that God is working, this appearance is the corrective. The delivery system does not always look like what you expect. Third, the wilderness of Midian. Exodus 3:2-4. Moses is 80 years old. He has been tending the same flocks in the same desert for 40 years. He is not looking for an encounter with God. He is doing a job he has done 10,000 times before. And then something is different. A bush is burning without being consumed. Exodus 3:2. The angel of the Lord appeared to him in a flame of fire from the midst of a bush. Then verse 4. When the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God called to him. 2 things are happening, and the sequence matters. The angel creates the phenomenon. God speaks from within it, but God does not speak until Moses turns aside. The Hebrew is sur, to depart from the path, to divert from the course you were on. The burning bush was not the miracle. Moses turning aside was. The angel created an interruption unusual enough to break 40 years of routine, and Moses chose to investigate rather than walk past. The commission that followed, "Go to Pharaoh, bring my people out," came through a bush that was burning, on a man who was watching, in a wilderness that was ordinary. What most people miss is that the burning bush was not a reward for Moses' faithfulness. He had not been faithful in any spiritually notable way for 4 decades. He had been keeping sheep. This was an interruption of routine designed to redirect a man who had stopped expecting God to do anything with him. And the only thing required was that he turned aside to look at what was strange in his ordinary path. There are things in your life right now that are burning without being consumed, situations that keep not resolving, invitations that keep arriving. The question Moses answers is not whether God is speaking, it is whether you are turning aside to look. Fourth, the winepress at Ophrah, Judges 6:11-12. Gideon is threshing wheat inside a winepress. The detail matters. You thresh wheat on an open threshing floor where wind carries the chaff away. You do not do it in a winepress, which is below ground level and enclosed. Gideon is hiding. He is hiding the wheat from the Midianites, who have stripped Israel's harvests for 7 years. He is frightened, practical, resourceful in the way frightened people are, finding ways to survive circumstances rather than confront them. The angel of the Lord sits under an oak tree, near where a frightened man is doing frightened man's work, and the angel's first words are, "The Lord is with you, mighty man of valor." Judges 6:12. Gideon is hiding in a hole. The angel calls him a mighty warrior. Here is what most people miss, and it is the most counterintuitive fact in this entire video. The angel does not describe who Gideon is. It describes who God has already decided Gideon will become. Angelic announcements in Scripture do not operate like assessments. They operate like commissions. They do not evaluate your current state and find it acceptable. They declare your future state and call you toward it. Gabriel tells Mary she is highly favored before the conception happens. The angel tells Gideon he is a mighty warrior before a single battle is fought. The angel finds Hagar and tells her what her son will be before he is born. The pattern of angelic language in Scripture is consistently oriented toward what God has planned, not toward what the recipient has achieved or currently is. The declaration comes before the demonstration. The identity comes before the evidence. And Gideon's response reveals exactly how dissonant this feels from the inside. Verse 13, "If the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us?" He is not rejecting the commission. He is genuinely confused by the gap between what the angel is saying and what his life looks like. Jesus does not answer the question. He gives the commission again. Go in this strength of yours. The strength he refers to is not Gideon's military experience. It is the fact that the Lord is with him. And Gideon, confused and uncertain, will move, and the Midianites will fall before 300 men carrying torches and clay jars. If a word has been spoken over your life, through Scripture, through a specific encounter, through an unmistakable inner knowing, that does not yet match what your circumstances look like. That is not contradiction. That is the same pattern. It has always come this way. Fifth, the wilderness of Beersheba, 1 Kings 19:4-8. Elijah has just called fire from heaven. He has stood on Mount Carmel before the entire nation and 450 prophets of Baal, and the fire of the Lord consumed the sacrifice, the wood, the stones, and the water. He has ended a 3.5-year drought through prayer. He is at the peak of prophetic authority in Israel's history, and the morning after, he runs into the wilderness and asks God to kill him. "It is enough, Lord. Take my life." The angel comes, not with a rebuke, not with a theological correction. The angel touches him and says, "Arise and eat." There is a cake baked on coals and a jar of water. Elijah eats, lies down. The angel comes a second time, "Arise and eat, for the journey is too great for you." What most people miss is what the angel does not do. It does not address the spiritual condition. It does not question his faith or his request to die. It feeds him. It lets him sleep. It acknowledges that the journey ahead is real and hard and beyond his current capacity, and provides for the present before addressing the future. God's assessment of Elijah's exhaustion is not disappointment. It is provision. If the aftermath of a breakthrough has been depletion rather than euphoria, if you have come through something that should have felt like victory but left you empty, this appearance tells you God does not require you to explain that. He sends food, lets you sleep, and speaks to what comes next only after the body has been cared for. Sixth, the village of Nazareth, Luke 1:26-31, Gabriel, named. Not the angel of the Lord in the general sense, but a specific named being dispatched on a specific assignment. He arrives in Nazareth, a village so unremarkable that Nathanael's first response to the claim that the Messiah is from there is, "Can anything good come from Nazareth?" Gabriel says, "Greetings, favored one. The Lord is with you." Mary is greatly troubled at the saying. The Greek is diatarasso, thoroughly agitated, not mildly surprised, and Gabriel's immediate response is the phrase that appears more often in angelic appearances than any other instruction across both testaments. "Do not be afraid." That phrase is not comfort for mild startlement. It is the consistent response to genuine angelic presence, which apparently produces a level of fear that requires direct address. Every named appearance where a person clearly sees an angel, Isaiah in the temple, Daniel by the Tigris, John on Patmos, produces the same reaction: overwhelming terror, falling on the face. The real thing, by every biblical account, is nothing like the cultural image. What most people miss is the proportion between the messenger and the recipient. Gabriel appears in Daniel described in terms that make Daniel collapse. He is one of the highest-ranking named angels in Scripture, and God sends him to a teenage girl in a village nobody respected. The rank of the messenger is always proportional to the weight of the assignment, not the social position of the person receiving it. Gabriel did not go to Caesar or to the high priest. He went to the most ordinary person imaginable because the assignment was the most significant in human history. Seventh, the Garden of Gethsemane, Luke 22:43. It is the night before the crucifixion. Jesus has withdrawn from the disciples and is praying. Luke says his sweat became like great drops of blood. The prayer is a prayer of anguish. "Father, if you are willing, remove this cup from me. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours." And then, Luke 22:43, an angel from heaven appeared to him, strengthening him. This is the seventh appearance, and it is the most extraordinary in all of Scripture, not because of what the angel says. Luke records no words, but because of who the angel is sent to: Jesus, the Son of God, the one through whom every angel in the order of heaven was created. And on the night before the cross, in the darkest hour of the most significant moment in all of history, God sends an angel to strengthen his Son. What most people miss is the implication. If the Son of God, fully divine, in whom dwells all the fullness of the Godhead, receives angelic ministry in a moment of extremity, then angelic presence toward human beings is not a concession to weakness. It is the pattern of how God operates in moments that require more than what is present. God does not reserve angelic presence for the strong. He sends it into the place of most intense need, regardless of the rank of the one in need. If this is showing you Scripture you have read before but never seen quite this way, the biggest thing you can do is subscribe, leave a comment, and share this with one person who needs to understand what angelic ministry actually looks like. That is how this reaches more people. Thank you for being here. Now, step back and lay all 7 appearances side by side, because the pattern is not subtle. It does not require theological interpretation. It is on the surface of every account. What does God consistently do through every angelic appearance? And is he still doing it? Every appearance goes to someone in a moment they cannot handle alone. Hagar is running and alone. Abraham carries a decades-old promise with no evidence. Moses has spent 40 years in obscurity. Gideon is hiding from an enemy that has broken him. Elijah is past his capacity after his greatest victory. Mary is an ordinary girl in an overlooked village receiving a world-altering assignment. Jesus is in the darkest hour of his human existence. Not one of these appearances goes to a person at the height of their confidence and spiritual vitality. Every single one goes into a place of depletion, confusion, fear, or impossibility. Here is the first thing this means for you. You do not earn angelic ministry by being spiritually prepared for it. Every appearance in this list arrives unsolicited into circumstances the recipient had not chosen, at a moment they were not ready for. The pattern is not, God rewards the faithful with heavenly visitation. The pattern is, God responds to specific need with specific provision. The need is the credential. And then there is this. The most important thing every angel says in this list is something the recipient cannot yet see. El Roi, the God who sees, Hagar says, before she can see her future, "The Lord is with you, mighty warrior," before Gideon has fought a single battle. Greetings, favored one, before the conception. The angel at Gethsemane strengthens Jesus for what he is about to walk through, not for what he has already accomplished. Angelic ministry in Scripture is oriented toward what God has planned, not toward what the recipient has achieved, and maybe the thing that stays longest is hidden in Genesis 16. Hagar names God El Roi, the God who sees, in one of the most overlooked verses in all of Scripture. No covenant standing, no recorded prayer life, no religious community, running in the wrong direction. And her encounter with an angel produces the first human name for God in the entire Bible, not from Abraham, from a runaway slave woman who discovered, in a desert where nobody was watching, that she had never been out of God's sight. 7 appearances, 7 moments of depletion, fear, impossibility, or anguish. Hagar heard, "I see you, and I hear your affliction." Abraham heard, "The impossible promise is coming." Moses heard, "I am interrupting your routine to redirect your life." Gideon heard, "You are already who I have decided you will be." Elijah heard, "Arise and eat, the journey is too great for you." Mary heard, "You have been chosen for what no one else will do." Jesus received strength for the thing only he could carry. The God who sent angels into those 7 moments has not changed his method. The same character that heard Hagar's unspoken suffering in the wilderness of Shur sees every place in your life where you are sitting by a spring and running from something you cannot change. The angel does not go to the prepared. It goes to the specific place where specific need has created the specific opening God has been watching. El Roi, the God who sees, a name given in a desert by a woman with no credentials. And it is still true.